turns me on. Because
Dallas, how you doing?
Hi, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Hey, I was calling in to get your opinion on a particular subject. I wanted to see if you thought that maybe religion isn't necessarily the root of the problem, but more of like a symptom of the problem. Fear being the real problem, and religion is just something that's cropped up in these godly societies to take care of the real problem of fear. You know, fear of disease, fear of tragedy, fear of loss, fear of what happens after you die, those sort of things.
Well, I think it's related. You know, I think religion pretends to assuage fears, right? They say, you know, we're going to take care of you. God's watching you. God's going to take care of you. These sorts of things, and you're going to go to the happy place when you die, and you don't need to be afraid. But they also play on people's fears. You know, so it's a little of both. You don't get to sort of get away from fear in religious societies, I think.
I think you're right in the sense that they're the result of a number of different fears. But the thing is, the fear is the result of being human. So, you know, you can draw this causal change. We're human, therefore we're fearful and curious and uncomfortable with not knowing. And so we have constructed religions to assuage those fears and to give us supposed answers, etc. But at some point, there's some action that was taken that causes harm.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to identify. And I don't think that fear is the point at which we need to identify. Yeah, fear can cause you to make mistakes. But when we're talking about religion, and one of my objections, or one of the points of disagreement to what Don was saying, is that there was a lot of it that was overgeneralized, oversimplified, broad brush, religion this, God that. And in the context of what Don's talking about, I don't know that's fair, but in the context of atheists speaking out against the problems of religion, which is what Don's talking about, then I think that it is fair to use a slightly broader brush and to say that, at least insofar as I can tell, the harms that I would relate to religion is the single factor that I would consider causal and unifying, because you take actions based on your beliefs, and if you have a bunch of false beliefs, or a bunch of beliefs that don't mesh with reality, or a bunch of beliefs that are inconsistent with reality, that's how you get to harm. Fear in and of itself can't do that. It needs fear is like, let's just say fear and I don't know are the two things. And what religion does is says, don't be afraid, here's your answer. Well, if the answer is BS, then the decisions that you make based on that answer are very likely going to be problematic. They're very likely going to cause harm to you or somebody else. Additionally, if they work a little bit, or they seem to work, or you convince yourself that they work, then all of a sudden the other answers and beliefs that this religion layer wants to give you, not that religion is the thing that wants to do something, but that come along with this, now all of a sudden you start believing those things too and applying those. And the more false things you believe, the more messed up your thought processes are. I mean, I said about 1 million times on the show now, I care about whether or not my beliefs are true, and I want to believe as many true things and as few false things. And both of those have to be in there. I mean, if you believe as many true things as possible, congratulations, you can do that by believing everything. Now, by definition, you believe all true things. And if you wanted to just believe as few false things as possible, congratulations, you can believe nothing. You can come as close to it as possible. But what I'm talking about is a precise filter that lets you, I'm not going to say I believe this or I accept that this claim is true until there's good reason to do so. Because if I do it beforehand, then I'm placing myself at risk. And if I take action based on those, because I take actions based on those beliefs, and I want to make damn sure that those beliefs are true. And that's what religion, kind of in the broad sense, doesn't do. It may be the case that there is some God or some higher power. I don't see any reason to think there is one, and I couldn't prove that there isn't one. But the point is that those who claim there is can't prove that there is one.
Right, I get that, but I know when I talk to a lot of my friends, that are religious, one of their, they always feel like I'm attacking them,
Yeah.
personally, right, because of their religion. And I've always found that it's easier to get through to them if I start talking about, well, what are your fears in life, or why do you seek God to fill in, or to basically, I think religion like as a self-defense mechanism.
I think religion tries to meet certain human needs, right? And some of those needs are very visceral, like, I want to survive, right? And religions promise me that I'm going to live forever, and gosh, that's just right. Powerful stuff, right? So they try to meet those needs, but now I don't think they actually do meet those needs.
Obviously.
But I think that they've got that marketing going.
Well, I've just noticed that a lot of atheists, I see them speak to the religious and how it's really ridiculous, and I'm in agreement on that part, but I think it almost falls on deaf ears from these people because of their lifelong upbringing and everything, and I think maybe if we point out,
they've been trained not to trust you, right? Because there will be these people coming to take you away, and they're gonna take you to the devil and all this stuff, right? So you have to not listen to them.
There's lots of approaches that may or may not work. We've talked about this a lot at different times, especially when to ridicule, when is ridicule a valid tool, when to rely on reason, who's likely to listen to reason. I don't think for a second that there's going to be some fundamentalist listening to the show that is going to become an atheist.
Have an atheist epiphany, right?
Because of anything I've said. And oftentimes I'll talk about the problem that I see with religious moderates providing legitimacy and shelter for the fundamentalists by using the same name, the same holy books, the same beliefs. They're just not quite as gung-ho about them. It doesn't earn me a lot of credit, or doesn't earn them a lot of credit. But I do see that religious moderation, I think, or religious moderates are essential. There are both a path away from fundamentalism and a path to fundamentalism. And my goal, while the goal of the show is never to deconvert or get somebody to abandon their religion, it's about, first of all, clearing up misperceptions about atheists and atheism and providing that outlet, raising the level of public debate to whatever degree we can, actually having conversations and discussions about things. And if somebody abandons their religious belief because of that, great. And if somebody's religious belief is strengthened by that, I still stand by the fact that I'm happy about that too, as long as they actually took the time to consider it. Because if they have some kind of personal revelation that makes it true for them, or it makes it to them seem true, I can't argue against that because I haven't had the same experience. The only thing I can point out is that, gosh, that's a colossally unfair way to distribute the truth of such really important information by some kind of private revelation, and then you have to run around trying to convince everybody else that your magical epiphany was true. I just, who comes up with a system like that, and why would anybody think that that was a good thing?
Right.
I know, I got off track, Rick. I'm sorry. Thanks a lot for calling in.
Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Because the world is round, it turns me